Hey there, this is B. Wendy Jackson. I wanted to quickly interrupt you before you listen to the next episode. Listen, thank you for your support with the podcast. Those of you who've been following me since January 2020, I really appreciate you. I want to hear from you. You can send me a message at info@AAOP as in Paul, C as in Charlie, S as in Snake.net. I would love to hear from you. Also, if you have not rated and reviewed the podcast, would you do that for me, please? It also allows people to find the podcast. This is growing. The podcast is growing and I'm so excited. I've had to update my little commercial because my name has changed and my website has changed in terms of where you receive the books. So if you have not purchased your books, I got the opportunity and the gift to write two books. The first one is Empowerment for You, Encouragement for Your Emotional and Spiritual Wellness. Listen, I love this book. It is definitely a book that invites you to experience hope, help, and healing. And every page, every chapter is really filled with insight, information, and inspiration to be able to help empower you, to be able to help you walk in freedom. I include specific practical tips to help you take charge and take possession of your thoughts and really just control your behaviors or impact your behaviors and impact some changes in your life, cause some changes in your life. And then the second book is Empower to Empower You Reflection Workbook. Love this book as well because it's based on specific podcast episodes where you listen to some episodes and you are able to dive deep into some reflection. I give you some prompts so that you don't have to wonder or think about, well, how do I start to reflect? What do I even write? The prompts are already provided for you. Isn't that awesome? So there are also blank pages for you to journal or whatever you want to do, right? And so I just invite you. You can go on Amazon and just look for B. Wendy. So I don't want to cause any confusion. My maiden name is Bob. So people have known me as B. Wendy Bob for so long. And then July 2022, I was blessed to be married. And so now I'm B. Wendy Jackson. So Amazon, you could just search for the books B. Wendy Bob, and you will find those two books come up. If you have any questions, you could email me. You can also find the resources on my website, AAOPCS.net. That's AAO, P as in Paul, C as in Charlie, S as in Snake.net. Listen, I look forward to hearing from you. May the books continue to add value to your lives. I'm really thankful for this opportunity to just encourage people all around the world. All right. Enjoy the next episode and have an amazing day on purpose. Hey y'all, this is B. Wendy Jackson, your lovely host of the Empower to Empower You podcast. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you are feeling well and doing okay. I hope that you have really been empowered and encouraged and inspired by the podcast. It is consistently growing and reaching more and more people, and I am so thankful, y'all. If you only knew the fear, the ambivalence, the doubt that I experienced when it was about starting a podcast. Oh my gosh. Like I had significant doubt. I really had fear, and I know I'm not supposed to be afraid, but fear is real, and it's okay to have, being afraid or feeling afraid is a feeling. Staying in fear is a choice, right? Feeling afraid is a feeling. It's normal to have moments where you just feel afraid, but staying in fear is a choice, right? And so I definitely had some doubt about, is this going to work? Do I even have a voice? Do I have something to talk about? And I'm so thankful. This podcast started January 2020, and I am over 150 episodes going strong. And I'm thankful for you who are listening. I'm thankful for you who have shared, downloaded, and really posted anything that you've listened to. I would love to hear from you. I know I don't have a fancy podcast website, a fancy podcast group, or, anything like that. But, I just know that people are out there listening, and this is really adding value to people's lives. And so I really want to take a few minutes. I don't want to be long, but I want to come back with part number 2 of work-life balance. This is such a salient and relevant topic because so many people are struggling with stress. Stress is a silent killer. So if you go back to part one, you notice I talked about the signs of how do you know that your work-life balance is unhealthy. There's so many directions I could take this. Honestly, I can come up with a part three, part four, because there's even an important, and I may even do an episode on how do you know you're stressed? Like, what are some examples of the signs of stress? A lot of us are working under stress, and we have told ourselves, or we have learned through our life experiences, that we work well, quote unquote, under stress. We work well, quote unquote, under pressure. Well, that's not healthy, right? That's not healthy. So maybe dating back to childhood, or even young adolescent, preteen, or even young adulthood, you remember times where you just waited till the last minute to turn in that paper, to do that assignment, right? And you were experiencing stress, but you were not aware of it because you somehow believed this narrative that this is how you function well, that you have to have pressure, applied pressure to do well. Over time, then that over time, what it does, it creates a pattern of negative stress in our life. Not all stress is negative, right? And so that's another episode. I'm going to probably do another episode just about stress. But I really want to take a few minutes to talk about, okay, now that I've talked about the signs of an unhealthy work-life balance, what are the steps to a better work-life balance? Achieving a better work-life balance really requires intentionality in every aspect of our lives. It's not just work. Work does not define who you are. Whether you serve as a doctor, a nurse, or in the military, or a teacher, a principal, a counselor, or a mental health technician, or construction, whatever work that you do should not define who you are. That's just one aspect. Now, it may be a huge aspect depending on how many hours you spend at work, but really achieving a better work-life balance, whether you are an entrepreneur. I meet with so many entrepreneurs in counseling and who don't have a balance because we have this tendency to think that we're supposed to hustle and bustle. And y'all, can I tell you a secret? We were not meant to do that. We were not meant to. Now, some people may say, well, that's how you grind and you got to hit the ground. But then over time, you know better for nobody else. What happens when your health is affected negatively and you can't hustle anymore? Then what? Right? Like, we were not meant to be so stressed out and so out of whack with our lives because we're hustling and bustling and we're grinding and we're chasing that dollar. And that's not what life is supposed to be. Right? And so really achieving a better work-life balance requires intentionality and requires attention to many aspects of our lives, including work, our physical and mental fitness, our relationships, our hobbies, and social life. A lot of us don't even know what our hobbies are. A lot of us don't even know the last time we had fun. A lot of us can't even tell me when the last time you had a vacation, right? And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I may not finish today, but there may be a part three. I'm not sure. But let me just kind of jump in because I only have a few minutes before my next client. So what steps do you take now that you've acknowledged and now that you are aware that, oh my goodness, I do not have a healthy work-life balance? Any 12-step program will tell you the first step is to admit that you have a problem, right? So if that's the first step, awareness, like I always share with my clients, awareness can lead to responsibility. Because now that you're aware, okay, the next question is, what do I do about it? So number one, how can I monitor my time? In order for me to manage my time, I first need to monitor how am I spending my time? Where is my time going? Maybe you might have to start with an activity log, even if it's just for 1 week. Like, what am I spending my time doing? You may realize that I'm doing things that are life draining, or am I doing things that are life giving? Am I spending my time on life draining versus life giving? Am I spending my time on things that are time wasters, like scrolling on social media on your break time, or when you first wake up in the morning, or at nighttime when you're trying to decompress? Decompression does not include scrolling on social media, right? Like, so you may have to first maybe monitor your time by doing a time log. Like, where is my time going? Especially for those of you who are saying, oh my gosh, there's not enough time in a day. 24 hours is a lot of time in the day. It may feel like it's not, But it's all about how we monitor our time. And this is something I have to be intentional about as well. So maybe you might have to start with a time log of what am I doing? Where am I going? Who am I on the phone with? How long am I on the phone? Who am I speaking to? What activities am I doing? When am I resting? Do I even take a nap? What's taking my time personally? How much of my time is involved with my family, with my children? How much of my time is involved with work, with time wasted, with friends, with associates, with extracurricular activities? How much of my time is spent with church, even church involvement? Sometimes you could be so involved and so busy, and I am all about serving the Lord and doing things for God. But if you're at church every single day, unless you work in the church, if you're doing something every time the doors open and you have no balance, you might grow some resentment. You will get tired of that, right? So there's a balance to everything. So the first thing, again, is monitor your time by maybe working on completing a time log, even if it's just for the first week or the first 2 weeks, or if you want to do it longer, you're welcome to do that. So just to kind of see, okay, where's my time going? Okay. The second step I want to talk about is how do you set your priorities? Like maybe setting a list of priorities, and maybe you might have to separate this. For example, if you are a wife or a husband, if you're a man listening, you have children, you're a father, you have different hats, you're a caregiver, or if you don't have children, or if you're not married, but work takes a big chunk of your life. And when you're single, it's very easy to throw yourself into work. Or if you've been through something painful, it's very easy to use work as a coping mechanism. So you have to really take what I'm saying with a grain of salt and really assess, why am I throwing myself into work? Why am I spending 50 hours of work? Why 50 hours at my job? Like, why is that happening? What am I using work for? Am I using work as a coping mechanism? Am I using work as a place to kind of, for esteem and morale? Do I feel obligated to do this? Like, why am I working so much? Or am I just in survival mode because I'm trying to get out of debt and I'm just kind of, this is the only way I know how to do this, right? But what are your priorities? And so you may have to separate this between work, like what are my work priorities and what are my home priorities, right? And maybe just make a column on a piece of paper. This will require you to write or type on your phone or take notes on your phone, but really take time. In fact, this will require you to have some time for reflection. Like what is a priority for me personally and what is a priority for me with professionally? Just to at least identify, like, where should I be spending more time? Where should I be spending less time? Or what should I be doing differently? Okay. Number 3, how do I plan my day? How do I set the day? How do I start my day? Do I start my day frantic? Do I start my day on my phone, taking 30 minutes to scroll on social media? Do I start my day with, oh my gosh, looking at my work emails? Like, if you start your day anxious or frantic, guess what? You have set the tone for you to have a very anxious-based, anxiety-based, fear-based, or stressful-based, a stressful day, right? And so maybe it's, okay, how do I wake up? Do I need to wake up earlier? What's my wake-up time? What's my going to bed time? Do I need to wake up a few minutes earlier to set the tone for my day? For example, and maybe for some of us, that's not always possible, especially if you have to take your child to school or daycare by early. You have to be at work early, or log on early. You may have to look at, okay, do I need to wake up a few minutes earlier just to take 10 minutes for me, 15 minutes to pray, or whatever you can start with, quiet time, gratitude journaling, stretching, make a to-do list for the day, schedule my day, like affirmations, like what do I need to do? Exercise. What do I need to do to help me be my best? And how can I plan my day? Even if you can plan something, you can plan your day and things don't go the way that you purpose for it to go. But if you are a Christian, that includes prayer, right? That includes, reviewing the Word of God. That includes asking God to help you and inviting the Holy Spirit into your day. If you're not a Christian, and even if you are a Christian, again, setting intention for your day, okay? Planning your day is the third step, is something that I recommend that you do. Number 4, leave work at work. A lot of times this is very hard for people whose work is very consuming. when you bring work home, it can quickly eat into your family time. And even if you don't have a family, listen, if it's just you, that's your family, right? I used to say this even when I was going home and I was not married. I used to say, look, I'm my family. But it eats into your relaxation times. If you're constantly bringing a work home, then you have literally you have no boundaries. You have no boundaries in your work, in your home life. And so you may want to think about developing an off mode, like developing a boundary of this is work, this is home. Maybe you might, if you can, flex your time. If you're going to bring work home, okay, what's going to be my off day? What's going to be a time where I take some time alone apart from work? Sometimes sometimes bringing work home is a necessity, but do not make a pattern of it. If you're married or you have a family, communicate, hey, I'm going to be working late. Here's what I've arranged. But really communicate, what do you need from your spouse or from your family? Hey, like, for example, I gave there are some times I've told my son, hey, mom is going to be working late today. She may not see you today. So I kind of communicate with him, even if he's 5 years old. I let him know, you may not see mom. She's going to check on you when you go to bed, but that doesn't happen all the time. But there are times where that does happen, right? Just communicate. So does that make sense? Number 5, set boundaries. You have to learn to say no. Like it is okay to say no. It may be no to yourself. You may have to say no to yourself in order to say yes to something or somebody that's more important. Okay? Saying no to yourself, to others is so crucial for rebalancing an unhealthy work-life schedule. So what do you need to say no to? When you go back to that time log that you've completed, a step number 1, or those priorities, okay, when you look at what have I been in the last few months, what have I been engaging in or saying yes to that's been really life draining? What have I been engaging to that's been taking me away from prioritizing my family or my health or my spiritual life or whatever, right? What do I need to say no to in order to say yes to? You got to say no. You have to set boundaries. We cannot have balance without boundaries. And that's also a chapter in my book, Empowerment for You, Encouragement for Your Emotional and Spiritual Wellness. You can search for it on Amazon by just searching Be Wendy Bob. It's also in the show notes, but it's also a podcast episode as well that you can search for that. Okay. If it's possible, consider a second phone. If you're taking phone calls on your personal call, then there's no separation between work and home. So maybe you may want to leave your work phone at work if it's possible. If you're on call, you work in safety at FedEx, or you work as a medical professional, or you work in the mental health profession, that's understandable. But if you are on call, right, you may want to if I'm on call this week, how can I work differently next week? If my work is not conducive to my life and to my health, then there are some decisions that you may have to consider making, because your life matters, your health matters. Okay? So you may want to create a break between your work and your personal time. If you can get a second phone for just your personal, don't give that number out. Even your coworkers, give them your work number, unless y'all are really, really good friends. Prioritize, I don't know what number I'm on, but prioritize family time, y'all. Prioritize time with your church friends, your family, your friends. How are you nurturing your friendships? What friendships in your life do you need to nurture? Okay? You may not be able to attend every event, every wedding, every birthday party, but how are you nurturing? What friendships do you need to nurture? What friendships do you have that are really, really important to you that you have not nurtured in a long time? Take care of your health. Do you need to exercise, even if it's just 15 minutes a day, 30 minutes 3 days a week, 20 minutes 3 days a week? What do you need to do to make sure that you're eating healthy, that you're getting water in? What do you need to do to make sure that you're incorporating a break at work to exercise, to move your body? Because when we're stressed and we hold that stress in, other things start to break down. Our immune system breaks down. Our digestive system breaks down. We start having GI issues. Everything starts to be affected. in our bodies because we were not meant to hold on to stress. Another step is give yourself a break, right? Take a break. Walk down the hallway. Go to the bathroom. Step outside. Go take a drive in the parking lot. These are not an all-inclusive step, but these are just some steps of how you can start to reset your balance, how you can start to take some steps and action towards creating a better work-life balance. If you work from home, this is very, very difficult. So you may have to set timers, set alarms on your phone, literally tell yourself, schedule in break time on your calendar. Whether you use a paper calendar or a phone calendar, electronic calendar, like schedule time where you need to go take a nap. Schedule a lunch break. It's very easy to work through your lunch when you work from home because you kind of tell yourself, we tell ourselves a lot of things that are not healthy. Oh, I'm at home. I'm going to get off early. I'm going to log on earlier. So you may have to be intentional. Remember I said it takes intentionality. Schedule a break-in. Block off your schedule if you can and say, you know what? Even if I just go take a nap or I go take a walk or I go to the gym or I step away and just go be quiet or do some journaling, really look at what is it that I need to do to take care of myself. Listen, if you're out of balance, everything else is out of balance. If you don't process hurt, if you don't process pain, if you don't process grief, if you don't process trauma, it will process you. Which means it's going to cause some negative consequences. Or it's going to affect your body, your mind, your spirit negatively. Your relationships require you to be balanced. Your work requires you to be balanced. So I hope this is very helpful for you. I hope that you can take something from this episode to really practice. And I want to hear from you. Tell me what you learned from this assessment. Tell me what you learned from this episode. What have you been able to implement to help you experience more work-life balance? This is B. Wendy Jackson. I'll be back next time with another amazing episode. I'm helpful for you. I'm here for you. Contact me. Let me know what's going on in your life. If you have ideas or suggestions, let me know as well. And have a wonderful day on purpose. Bye-bye for now.